Hey guys, this is God of Politics and welcome back to a brand new video, but before we get started, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, and join the Discord. I'll have both of those linked down in the description. But today's video is going to be why I think that Susan Collins has a real chance of losing her Senate election, her re-election in 2020. So obviously senators are up for re-election every 6 years, and the GOP does have a lot of senators up for re-election. The senators that are up for re-election in 2020 are the same senators that survived the 2014 wave years, all the flips they got in the Senate. I think they got 9 flips in 2014, and that was a great year for them, but now they have to defend those seats, similar to how in 2014 Democrats had to defend the seats that they won in 2008 in a wave year for them. So now Republicans are defending the seats that they got in a wave year, one of which is Susan Collins. And Susan Collins is now running for her fifth election. She originally said when she was elected in the 1996 Senate election, she was elected by about 7 points. She said in that campaign, she said that she would only serve 2 terms, meaning that she would be done by 2008. She broke that promise, and she is now running for her fifth term. She is now 67 years old, too, so she is getting older. And as you can see on the screen here, it does have some polls here. Some polls that have shown that Sarah Gideon, the Democratic challenger, she is, if we look at this here, she is the Speaker of the Maine House of Representatives, and she has been a member of the House of Representatives since 2012. So she is also young. She is 48, which is going to be good for her, and she is very qualified. It's a good pickup for the Democrats in order to run against her. I really couldn't think of anybody better to run against her. She is at the highest level of government in Maine, other than the governor, and the governor would be the only thing better than her. So she is a good candidate to run against Susan Collins, and as we have seen, the polls have shown it too. Originally, the first poll that came out, one that was done back in June of last year, it showed obviously Susan Collins was winning by 16 points. A lot of people didn't know who Sarah Gideon was. She was at 36. Susan Collins was at 52, meaning that she would comfortably win. But then there's no polls done then until February. And then a poll was done in February that showed Sarah Gideon beating Susan Collins by 1 point. And there's another thing to note, there are still a lot of undecided voters. I have made videos about this in the past. The polls are not necessarily wrong. It is due to the fact that there are a lot of undecided voters, and so those undecided voters, if they break for either side in excess of what the polls can't track, then the polls are going to seem like they're wrong when they're really not. But this poll, because a lot of people don't really know who Sarah Gideon is, but the reason that her being ahead by 1 point while only getting 43% of the vote is that people know who Susan Collins is. She is a high-profile senator, and she is well known around the country, let alone just Maine. She is known everywhere, and the people who are going to support her now, she's probably not going to gain as much support in the future based on undecided voters as Sarah Gideon was. And we can look at another poll here, a poll that was done in March. This was a PPP poll, so it has to be taken with a grain of salt because it is a Democratic internal poll. This poll showed Sarah Gideon up by 4 points. This was when you had less undecided voters. You see more of those voters went to Sarah Gideon. You see a 4% increase for Sarah Gideon, a 1% increase for Susan Collins. And despite the fact that nobody lost anything, Sarah Gideon is still up by more because those undecided voters broke for Sarah Gideon. As they get to know her, they're more likely to support her. And another thing to look at, Maine is still a Democratic state. In 2016, if we look at the primary, look at the Democratic caucus here, you can see this is all green. Bernie Sanders won the caucus. Every single county, he won by a landslide. He won huge in the Democratic caucus. As you can see here, he won 64% to 35%. That was a huge margin of victory for him. A lot of those voters who voted for Bernie, especially in the rural areas, would have probably gone directly to Donald Trump, some even to Gary Johnson. That is why Hillary only won by just under 3 percentage points. So we look at 2012, Barack Obama won by 16, or just under 16. In 2008, Barack Obama won by over 17. And so while Hillary did win by less, we saw that there was one of the big upsets of the night, and that was Joe Biden beat Bernie Sanders in the Maine primary. So Maine is now a state that is in Joe Biden's column, and it's a state that he's pretty much guaranteed to win when it comes to the general election. And obviously primaries are different from the general election, but if you win the primary soundly, if Hillary Clinton lost every single county in the primary and still wins, I don't see why Joe Biden would lose it winning the state. And so that'll help Sarah Gideon, especially since Sarah Gideon, I believe, is a moderate. And there is going to be increased turnout too, which could help them. Turnout was pretty high here; it was almost 73 percentage points, 73%. But that could help them as well. And another thing we have to look at is that her approval rating is now, according to one poll, this is a Morning Consult poll from back in January, so a couple of months ago, but not really much has changed. This was just before the impeachment vote. But it says Susan Collins has surpassed Mitch McConnell as the most unpopular senator. As we all know, pretty much, Mitch McConnell's not a very popular senator, but according to this poll, Susan Collins is passing Mitch McConnell as the most unpopular senator. And if you are the most unpopular senator in a state that is a blue state, that's really not going to go too well for you. Her disapproval is now at 52%. That's dropped 10 points in September. So we had the poll. We had the poll here back in June where she was up by 16. That's when her approval was a lot higher. She had a 42% disapproval rating, or a net approval rating has dropped 10 points. She's lost a lot of supporters. And she already lost a lot of supporters because of that Kavanaugh vote. If we look at the 2014 election results, we can see that she won huge. She won by 37 percentage points, right? But she lost a lot of people when she voted for Brett Kavanaugh because Maine is still a Democratic state. They still want liberal judges on the court. And Susan Collins, in today's partisan politics, goes out there and votes for these things, it is going to backfire on her and it is going to hurt her. And along with her becoming more partisan, you could argue, voting with Trump more of the time than not, in a blue state with more partisan politics, and also voting to acquit could have hurt her, but I really don't think it made too much of a difference. People do not like Donald Trump in Maine, but her disapproval overall has gone 52%, meaning that 52% of people disapprove of her. That is a majority. She can't win without a majority unless there's a significant third party, and so she's going to have to do something to become a lot more popular. And while this is a short video, I just wanted to talk about well, she could easily lose because we look at the scenarios here. Colorado's probably going to be blue. Arizona is probably going to be blue as well. North Carolina is probably going to be red at this point. And Maine. If Maine goes blue, along with North Carolina, Democrats get the Senate. If they keep Maine, the Democratic path to the Senate gets really difficult. They'd have to win in a place like Montana, which is really going to be difficult. But that's just the overall outlook of the Senate map. I don't want to look at that too much. But yeah, this is just an overview. I'll do more videos about this of why I do think that Susan Collins does have a really real chance of losing her Senate re-election bid. But yeah, thank you all for watching this video, guys. Please like and subscribe as always. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, and I will see you guys later.